Hello and welcome to the third game in a series between MVP Phoenix and MVP Hot Six here for the TI5 qualifiers. It is Southeast Asia, it is the winner's bracket, and the winner of this game will be moving on to the grand finals here in this qualifier, while the loser, they'll be moving on to the lower bracket, and winner also with that secures a place in Seattle. What place? Still undecided, but MVP Hot Six, MVP Phoenix 1-1. Who's going to take it? We've seen both teams playing their own game, and both teams won with their own game.
Yeah, the drafting for Hot Six, I think, was just really good that game. Yeah. The matchup in the mid was really strong, PA versus Invoker. They put a lot of pressure trying to kill the Broodmother, but they never really got any kills on him. And then the safe lane, because of that, was pretty much tri-lane versus a mid or a one hero for a long time. So I think the picking was really good in Hot Six's favor there, and I think that's what they need to take the win.
Yeah, the draft really forced Phoenix to rotate a lot more than I think they would have otherwise liked to. It was like a roaming Dro, it felt like at some point, as she was just moving around all the lanes, and that's never really ideal.
Definitely not. And I guess the early Broodmother pickup as well forced their draft somewhat. They weren't even, I guess they felt decently equipped to deal with it with the support pickups, but like Pridge said, they didn't get any kills in the end of the day. They put a lot of pressure, but the Brood still caught right back up anyway, and Hot Six kind of walked away with the game. So
yeah,
I think it's just going to come down to draft in this third game, honestly.
Might be Sunbee's best hero, I think, because he has some issues maybe on other heroes, but his Brood is really good, I think. And it looks so peculiar the way that he plays Brood the first few levels. He doesn't play greedy at all. He plays very, very safe. He hides in trees in weird places. He forces the supports to essentially pressure him, and he doesn't play it aggressive. He just eventually gets to level 3. Like, his level 2 came very late, but you know, they picked it in the first round. We're like, wow, that's really early. Surely it'll be no problem. But it ended up being a huge issue. And we were talking before the game started, and we said, do you ban Brood in the first round now? And does that let the Bloodseeker or the Undying through, which is something else that Hot Six might want to abuse to get an aggressive tri-lane or something. So what do they do now?
I would say
it's tough.
Letting the Undying through might be easier to deal with than a Brood, because the Brood forces MVP Phoenix to play so differently than what they're normally used to. While the Undying, I mean, it kind of comes down to fighting, and MVP Phoenix, I mean, they know how to fight. That's their playstyle, and I think letting the Undying through instead of the Brood might be a good option here.
Undying, I think, is definitely more manageable in general. Brood forces you to change your playstyle a lot more than the Undying does.
Do you think they're still just really afraid of the Bloodseeker? I mean, we talked about the Bloodseeker and the interactions with the Lesh. And Zeus. Bloodseeker's been big in this qualifier as well. And Hot Six, I think we're even playing it before we sort of got to this qualifier and saw other teams picking it up. So we might still see that banned. The one benefit that MVP Phoenix do have this time around is that they're first pick once again. So that does give them a little bit of an edge draft-wise. And we'll see if they can leverage that advantage to get to the draft nicely.
Yeah, and again, we'll see the sides the same. Hot Six will be on the Radiant, and Phoenix will be on the Dire. So same for all 3 games.
I think they're going to have to ban Bloodseeker again. I think Hot Six plays Bloodseeker better than any other C team right now. A lot of they utilize it well in lane, and they also utilize it well with other heroes. So exact same bans so far. Who's the other ban that we're looking for here?
I think Quap.
Quap is the one that Hot Six has banned every time with the Wisp.
Well, they're taking a long time to decide if they want to do that again. Perhaps they want. Oh, they are.
They're going to get rid of the Lesh. Okay.
So last time they had the situation, they did ban out the Quap, but Lesh was first pick for MVP Phoenix, and it did have a big impact on the game. So perhaps that's what they're trying to avoid. But I mean, Queen of Pain, both QO and KP play him amazing Queen of Pain, so I'm not sure if that was a smart decision, but perhaps MVP Phoenix is going to be showing mercy.
Where's Gyro been this series? Has he just been less popular in the C qualifier in general?
We haven't seen him.
Not at all?
Not as much.
Gyro, Rubik, Shadow Fiend, like those 3 heroes that you see a lot in the other qualifiers are kind of under the radar in this case.
You know what I think it is that the other teams are very practiced with the siege, basically. It's kind of like what we saw in the previous patch. It's like you get one hero that hits the tower, and the tower hits that hero, and everybody else stands really far behind him. That way, he's the focal point. He's got Aegis. He's got all these tanky items. Gyro's perfect for that. And I feel like the other teams got really practiced against STL, whereas the C teams very much run at each other. I mean, Gyro is good at that as well, but I feel like all the Gyro games that I saw when I watched the NA qualifier was very much get good lanes, get a couple kills, and eventually do the siege with Dazzle and stuff. And these teams are more like get gold advantage than fight the crap out of each other in 5v5 and stuff.
I feel like there were a couple of teams at SEA that were picking a few more of those staple qualifier picks overall, but they're not the ones that advance through here into the playoffs. Hot Six do all kinds of weird stuff. TNC as well came out of nowhere and just picked Bloodseeker and early game drafts and ran people down. And, Phoenix to an extent as well are very aggressive, put on a lot of pressure. And I think it's somewhat of a reaction as well just to how the overall scene is shaping up here. You can't necessarily go for some of those heroes. Even though Gyrocopter and SF are relatively laning focused, all of these teams kind of have their own flair anyway. And first pick Earthshaker for Phoenix.
Very surprised to see them not pick the Quap and take the Earthshaker. I would say hand over, but Phoenix or Hot 6 will let it go as well. They take the Drow and the Witch Doctor. Some comfort heroes here.
So I think they have to, if they don't want to ban the Queen of Pain, I feel like they have to pick it.
They have to pick it here if they want it.
Yeah.
Is it worth picking versus Drow?
I'm not sure.
A little
it's tough.
Scary.
Yeah, it is. It is very scary. You blink in, you get gusted, and you can just straight up die right then and there.
And they've also taken away one comfort support. The Nuts Witch Doctor will not be a reality this go.
And who's going to get the Dazzle? That's the other question for me, because I don't know if you can. I don't know if Phoenix can let Hot 6 have that. I think
it's likely to be banned, honestly. I don't think Phoenix will pick it here with their...
But if you're going to
there's so much forward planning that needs to happen just off of this pick.
Okay, they take the Dazzle. So they open with both supports.
All right.
Well,
Earthshaker can be an offlane.
Yeah, it's possible.
Do you know if March plays any Earthshaker in the offlane? I don't know off the top of my head, honestly.
I could see it. It's definitely more of a recent trend, so he wasn't playing it back then.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen it really.
But
okay. Huskar once again going to be getting that ban, and this has been pretty valuable, I think, for Hot 6. Just having this Huskar, not a lot of teams necessarily have the hero. They're just getting this ban almost every single time. It's the same story as having a really good Broodmother. They're also getting the Brood ban, and that means that Phoenix aren't really necessarily targeting what Hot 6's strategy is right now. The Drow and the Witch Doctor. They're just having to get rid of heroes that they're worried about in general that they think Hot 6 play nicely. So having those respect bans is turning into a really big deal.
Yeah, they could definitely play around this. If they think about the weaknesses of them banning all those heroes and they get everything perfectly in place, it could be a huge advantage. But I don't know if they had enough time to think about that. Maybe that's tough. Like some of the same stuff that you can notice these things when you're casting, but when you're playing it just goes completely over your head. You build the wrong items. You're like, oh, they were really weak on so-and-so. I could have built this one item and just completely stomped. It's tough. So I think it's still an advantage either way, though, and I think it's something that a lot of other teams should copy if they do end up playing Hot 6. They say, like, wow, the team that plays them all the time, they always ban these 3 heroes. Maybe they know what's going on.
I would not be surprised to see MVP Hot 6 still pick up the Queen of Pain. It looks like it's still going to make it through the drafts. Very unusual.
Unless they ban it out here, but they will have the first third pick.
But as said, do you want to pick a Queen of Pain into a Drow Ranger? In which case, it would be better on the side of Hot 6.
I mean, Hot 6 would love the hero.
I think Hot 6 could really do well with it, with the aura.
But the first pick after this goes to MVP Phoenix, I believe.
No, it goes to Hot 6.
Oh, it goes to Hot 6, so they can actually pick up the co-op if they don't ban it out.
Yeah, this is like the biggest advantage that second pick gets in the whole draft. You get a ban into a pick, so you get to cover something and you get to lock something up. Some teams just use this for a support pick to fish for a little bit more information, but I think this is somewhere where we might see a core coming in. The only question with the Queen of Pain is, do you think Phoenix might have some kind of an ace in the hole where they're trying to bait the Queen of Pain pick right now?
You almost would expect it.
And they feel like they've got something ready to deal with it. I guess that might be the one thing that Heen is a little bit worried about right now.
They banned the PA.
I think that's a good hero against Quap.
It's good against the Drow, as we've talked about.
Yep. I just think the Quap would be so good for them here. Obviously, they don't know what Phoenix is doing, but it's decent against Earthshaker and Dazzle. They'll have Drow Aura, so he already wins, or she already wins a lot of 1v1 matchups. Then she'll have an extra 20 damage on top of that. Like, maybe they'll put the Quap safe lane and the Drow mid and roam him early, in which case I feel they wouldn't get as much value out of it. But I just feel like Quap is already one of the best heroes right now and hotly contested by all teams. If you put him on a good Snowball player, and MP is probably that player, I think it could just do a lot this game.
Templar Assassin is also still in the pool for a QO, though, if they want to pick that up, which would be a decent opponent.
I was about to say that if Hot 6 take the Queen of Pain, there's still a Puck in the pool who has a pretty good matchup these days. But, I mean, against with the aura on top, I think that the Queen of Pain is actually going to would do just fine in that matchup, even with the recent buffs to Puck's Waning Earth damage early on.
The TA Quap matchup is kind of a funky one as well. I've seen some co-ops really dominate that matchup.
Yeah, it depends if you can dodge the daggers with your meld. If you can, then it's going to be okay, but because she has Drow, it would be tough. So they grabbed Lina instead. Could be a support. They were playing Heen on Lina earlier, but he was against a Slark, which absolutely sucked for Lina. I think that was basically just a bad support versus carry matchup, but it was one of the reasons that they had trouble winning fights in game 1.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I would like to see them maybe ban Slark later, because it's again still a great hero. It's like basically the same lineup that Hot 6 had in game 1, except they were against a Slark. So, and again, Phoenix picks up the Spirit Breaker. It's looking very much like game 1. There was a Dazzle as well. The only difference is an Earthshaker versus a Witch Doctor. This is like game 1 repeat, slight alterations.
Except with
the
swapping
supports.
Oh, that's right, because it was Earthshaker.
Yeah, it was Earthshaker for Jerax in game 1.
They did have a Leshrac that game as well, and they can't get that one anymore, so perhaps something else for KP there too. But yeah, it's looking pretty scary. And Spirit Breaker, of course, one of those heroes that can start fighting very early on.
Yeah. SB is good against the Quap. Can't stop the charge with your blink, but I still think Quap has to be tempting.
Yeah, I think the Spirit Breaker might be one of that hero that March was kind of holding in reserve if that Queen of Pain pick came out immediately, but he's just going to grab it.
There she is.
There's the Queen of Pain.
We
I think
did something
it's
right.
still good.
Woo! Right, everybody pat yourself on the back
Like,
here.
nice.
We predicted a Queen of Pain pick.
We remembered the most popular hero in the meta, and they had a Drow Ranger on the same team. We are so smart.
And there's the Templar Assassin
so
as well.
good call on that one, Sheever. We'll see how the matchup goes. The Sentry Ward is really the key thing. If Quap can keep a Sentry Ward down, then dodging with the Meld Strike is just a moot point.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting that Witch Doctor to make an early rotation with the Sentry Ward to try and get a kill, and then leave that Sentry Ward there so Queen of Pain can dominate the rest of the lane.
Yeah. Predictions on how early the first charge is mid lane?
Level 1.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might just be.
Really?
I would say
it could just be level 1.
That's what we saw in game number 1. Literally the level 1 charge.
I think if you see if Templar Assassin gets a good block, so if they make sure that they have one of the supports start the block right at the mid lane, and then you can have the 2 supports sitting there, and if you see the dagger and the Queen of Pain is too far forward, then you could actually just straight up get a kill right there. But it's definitely tough. We'll have to see what Phoenix end up doing. They did put a lot of pressure mid lane in the previous game.
I don't like the level 1 gank usually at the start of the
risky.
game, because then it just the offlaner gets a lot more. Then and by the time the supports get back to the safe lane, the offlaner's like level 2 or level 3, and then you can't zone them really. I guess they could with Lina.
It's a gamble.
With Lina Witch Doctor with Drow Aura. I guess they have advantage there, but it's just so dangerous, especially when your support is Earthshaker. Like, it'll just delay what Earthshaker can do. Not that he needs levels that bad, but.
Yeah, I was being a bit sarcastic, but I think it will be an earlier rotation rather than a later one.
And
what hero for Sunby?
They can still brood.
Clockwork is also still available here.
It's an okay brood game, honestly.
Against Earthshaker still?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously
Weaver.
late game
Offlane
Earthshaker
Weaver.
is good against it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's too bad. Weaver's an interesting choice. I'm guessing they're going to do a dual lane now with Weaver Witch Doctor. I think they can against a Dazzle, Earthshaker, or whatever. That's not too much synergy, depending on what the carry is for Phoenix here. I think I like the Hot 6 draft, though. They could even do a 1v1. What if they did, like, Quap safe lane versus Spirit Breaker? He's going to get completely outlaned there. Tons of harass with right clicks, daggers. I mean, he'll get a lot of levels, and maybe he can gank mid, which would be probably it could be a Drow. I guess that would be a little scary. I think keeping Spirit Breaker on low levels is the most important thing for Hot 6 this game, because that's pretty much what MVP has for setup at the moment. Obviously, we don't know their last hero. If Spirit Breaker has low levels and his charges are not the best, then I think Hot 6 will just run over this game completely.
Perhaps another Slark coming out. Pretty decent against Weaver.
It's not as good this game. Bad against Slark, or bad against Weaver, bad against Quap. Good against Lina, Witch Doctor, Drow. They have pretty darn good AoE with Quap, Lina.
Dare I say, is this the Ember Spirit game? No.
It's almost never the Ember Spirit
game.
Yeah,
I know. God, this is a tough one.
It is, and apparently for MVP Phoenix as well, because they're taking their time. They still got 50 seconds, though.
Is there anything that stacks well with Dazzle that's a carry?
Slardar.
How about a Gyro pick?
I was just going to say Gyro. I think it is a fine pick here, but I don't think they'll take it.
They have too much burst that goes through BKB with Lina. Although Lina is a support.
And the Witch Doctor ulti as well.
I like the Slardar suggestion, but I think their lineup's too melee heavy.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, Earthshaker, Spirit Breaker, Templar Assassin's relatively low range.
What about like a Medusa here? Something really beefy.
It is the Ember
Whoa,
game.
okay, there we go. Finally get one right.
All right. They're going for it. It's got Immobilize. I guess the Searing Chains is pretty good against the Blinking Heroes and the Invis from Sakuchi. You got extra vision, so that's okay. he's going to have a tough time in the early lane, especially if he's aggressively tri-laned.
Yep.
And you still favor Hot 6's draft?
I don't know. I'm a little bit less now that they picked the Ember Spirit. I feel like I need to look at the draft and like think about hero counters and stuff. But the laning stage is going to be very important. It all depends on the tri lane as well. If are they going to do aggressive tri lane? I think Hot 6 might aggressive tri lane. They might just safe tri lane and zone the Spirit Breaker. I think it still is very much about the Spirit Breaker though. That's the only hero that's going to do something on the Phoenix lineup. Obviously they have an Earthshaker roam as well, so it's up to the Spirit Breaker and the Earthshaker roam. If those go well, Phoenix can definitely win this game. If the lanes go standard, it should be Hot 6 getting a big advantage, I think.
Yeah, this is a really dangerous Ember game, actually. There's tons of physical damage. There's plenty of nukes to deal with you as well. So
yeah, I like this Hot 6 draft, honestly. I think they've got a pretty potent lineup here.
Ember does fight well in the early game, so I think if he gets the ball rolling, MVP's lineup is pretty squishy in general, and that's where he could start finding solo pickoffs and snowball that way. But it's definitely interesting. And some friendly back and forth. Everyone's saying good luck, have fun, and let's get underway, I guess.
Indeed, let's get on the way. MVP Hot 6 versus MVP Phoenix. Who goes to Seattle? We'll find out in this game with Zayori and Baseskip.
All right, KP. He's in the off lane here, and they may find him nice and early on. Forev in the front lines, going to scout things out with the Shikuchi. And we'll just throw a friendly little poke there. Okay, no early skirmish.
Nice move from Hot 6, making their way down very aggressively, protecting their safe lane, making sure that nothing's going to get blocked out here. So they'll have full access to their pulls and pulls through. And as we talked about, they've got really good zoning supports, especially with the Drow Aura on both the Witch Doctor and the Lina. This is actually the exact tri-lane that Phoenix had in the previous game, trying to deal with the Broodmother. And we saw that was pretty successful, but I think this time around it should be even better against the Spirit Breaker. And if they zone him out and keep him level 1, once they manage to pick up their level 2, they can just pull and stack and do everything with impunity. And they're running up top lane.
He gets set up. Do they have any kind of reveal here? Oh, he has the refraction level 1. They don't even need it. He will be on the run. Searing Chains come out, and on the other side of it, Febby gets isolated. QO will be the victim of the first blood. It's Forev. That'll finish him off with one stray auto attack, and they might be able to get KP as well. Searing Chains not going to do much to save him here. Beautiful LSA out of Jerax, and Forev will just be able to chase him down. Searing Chains might be able to buy him some time. He can hope for is not even a deny because neutrals haven't spawned yet. 2-0 out of the gate. MVP Hot 6, ladies and gentlemen.
2 core kills, and they stole the bounty rune. The number of stuns that Lina has on a 7-second cooldown in the early game is actually just ridiculous.
Radia got both bounties there?
Yep. I think they swiped one out from underneath the...
Yep, Quap and Lina.
No, that's very big. And especially for the Templar Assassin, she's going for this bottle rush here on the mid lane. Looks like QO is still going to be able to grab a few CS. He is against MP on the Drow, and it's not a Queen of Pain, so I think it's a slightly easier laning matchup.
Yeah.
But that was definitely not the start that he was hoping for. And
what we said, could be in some trouble here. Searing Chains, blink back, and he will live. But a lot of pressure coming his way as Lina starts to rotate back down.
So it looks like Phoenix were somewhat dodging the aggressive tri-lane. I don't feel like Ember Spirit is a particularly amazing tri-v-tri hero, but lanes are going to end up somewhat weird. We have a tri-lane versus a dual lane, and a dual lane versus a solo mid lane. TA and the Drow probably not going to get involved too early, and that's the other thing to look at when you've got these tri-lanes and these funky laning matchups, whether or not there's some hero that's going to reach an immediate level 6 and then start ganking like a Puck or a Nature's Prophet. But the only hero here really is the Spirit Breaker for March. So
yeah, and they're putting a lot of pressure on that Spirit Breaker. The Witch Doctor up top, just poking him as much as he can with the benefit of that extra damage. And now things level out a little more for Sunby as Jerax has stationed himself down in the bottom lane. And I totally agree with you about the aggro try with Ember Spirit. One of those carries that doesn't really want to share experience if you can avoid it. Level 6 is a key ulti on him just for the mobility to both set up kills and also get out of sticky situations. And that will slow him down a fair bit in this kind of a scenario.
And he is just laying into March here. Normally you think of Spirit Breaker as being ridiculously tanky. He has that extreme EHP at level 1, but Witch Doctor's got pretty ridiculous base damage and with that little bit of precision or a bonus on top. Forev's going to come running in here, and March might actually be in some trouble.
This could be a kill. He'll have a charge, but I don't think it's going to be enough to survive. Stun on 2, nicely placed. But Shikuchi into the tower. This is an easy one for Forev. He'll be happy to take some tower shots as the Shikuchi damage secures the kill. Nicely played there, and it will make it 3-0 in total hero kills. Forev picking up all of the kills. Oh, bottom lane. KP takes an LSA to the face. Dragon Slade to follow up. Sunbi blinks forward, and the scream not enough for the damage, or not enough for the kill rather. Shallow Grave buys him some time. Sunbi in some trouble. Wants to get Febby. Can't quite get it, but now Lina for the cleanup. Jerax with a triple kill. Oh my good gracious. It's MVP Hot 6 coming out big again.
Oh man, Jerax, the stuns so far this game have been ridiculous. He lands 3 back-to-back while they're contesting that rune on top lane. Gets the 2 here Light Strike Array there to make sure that the Ember Spirit doesn't just run off. Let's see this again in all of its glory, because this was big plays from Jerax. He hits all 3 with the nuke. Sunbeat goes committing in. Nice grave comes out of Febby, and they do manage to right-click down the Queen of Pain, but Jerax almost hits 3 again. Almost hits all 3 with that stun.
And then this Dragon Slave connects on what would have been all of them. The Dazzle's actually already dead, but
huge play.
Wow. Just incredible damage out of the Lina. And all of a sudden, this support Lina is level 4, tangling with the top and in a great spot. QO loses his clarity to Cardi there. That's a
what is he
hero
doing
siege.
here?
What is? What are you doing, Cardi? Get out of here. Go back to the lane.
He's contesting the rune. He's like, he's seen all of the action. He wants to get involved. Hot 6 have
Dude, this card
riled
is
him up.
Really getting aggressive here, just giving some scouting intel. So this is looking rocky for the dire side. Febby gets off a shallow grave, but a bit of a close
tried
call
to
there.
deny him.
He was about to.
He might still have to.
Uh-oh, and yeah, he does. So somebody goes in, forces out the deny. Now may get punished for it, though. Flame Guard bringing him low, won't have the blink in time. And
okay, that was a bit of a silly blink.
Yeah, KP gets the kill there, and well, nice setup with the deny, so it was all bait, I suppose. Dazzle will end up in the grave, but a great trade there. The TA in the mid lane, farming very nicely. High CS score, doing pretty well against the Drow Ranger. But Drow also not really struggling all that much.
Drow is just a damage bot this game, honestly. She's got 3 points up in the precision aura, and she's already invested 2 points into stat. It's not that she's holding these skill points and waiting to use them if she needs a silence or a slow. She is actually just buffing the other lanes and
is
making
that
Weaver
a third
monster.
Wraithband recipe sitting back in the bank there? No boots, triple Wraithband. Absolutely a damage wagon for the whole team. This is a slightly different way to play her, and I like it here. We'll see up top bit of a back and forth between Forev and March. Forev taking a lot of tower shots. He's not level 6, no way to time lapse it off, but now the swarm comes out. March hits him with a stun.
No
He's
bash.
gonna win this duel. Oh, Forev not going to be able to find the kill, but will be able to Shikuchi back. He really wants it. The TP actually gets canceled. There's a rotation coming up here. It is the Dazzle. You need to be a little bit careful. Forev will be forced back, now low on regen.
All right, so that's, what, 2 TPs and 3 heroes now up top lane. And Forev, he's trying to go in here, but it looks like that might be his death, actually. Grave onto March just to make 100% sure that he doesn't go down in the midst of this.
A little greedy there.
Yeah.
Hands it over. That's the end of a killing spree also.
It's Dazzle who ends up getting it. No, so not a core, and I think not necessarily who Phoenix would love to have gotten that kill on, but still, kill's a kill at this stage. And they are a little bit behind here in the early game. At the very least, Templar Assassin does have some really good farm. Mid lane not proving to be too much of an issue. I think Q is actually the CS leader. And yeah, 30 and 12. So at least his TA is doing decently.
Yep, a lot on the back of QO here as the other lanes are definitely struggling quite a bit. Ember Spirit and Quab actually breaking even in terms of CS. And it was favored for the Queen of Pain, but since that silly little dive that we saw a few minutes ago that cost her her life, things have been a little more rocky. It looks like Phoenix will pull a rotation, though, with KP headed to the top lane. Hold that thought as Sunbi down bottom. Stun after stun will bring her to half health, but a blink away will keep the succubus alive.
Yeah, they really can't find a lane for this Ember Spirit at the moment. Bottom lane, he was getting pressured and daggered, and top lane's no better as MVP come in looking for another kill. Nukes come out, chain stun, and auto attacks, all that it takes. Goodbye, K Phoenix.
This Ember Spirit turning into a bit of a liability here for the dire side. Sunbi set up on again in the bottom lane, stunned up and brought down. The fissure into a charge stun is enough to find the kill there. So at least for MVP Phoenix, they are getting kills on the Quap, but now QO stunned in the mid. They've got a Sentry Ward down. Dragon Slave connects after the Gust. QO still alive. We'll try to turn around with the help of the Ember Spirit. Maybe they can make something happen here. This is turning into a roaming Ember Spirit at this point.
Yeah, KP playing this very similarly to how he played the Drow Ranger in the previous game, moving around a lot, trying to get active. I think it suits the Ember a little bit better overall, but like we were saying, he just can't find a home. Almost gets stunned, but might just get right-clicked down anyway. Gusted. And
one more. Bottle sips the bottle. Flame Guard keeps him alive for now. Dazzle on the low ground. They're still in some trouble. It's a 4-on-3 charge coming into Jerax. March will make it up to the high ground. Maybe they can turn onto Sumbi. He'll back up. Another nice gust to break things up a little bit. Ferev right in the front lines, trying to focus down Febby. Another strike onto Ferev. Still no one dead, but it's QO that gets separated from the team. Pops on the refraction, searing chains on a couple of creeps. QO will try to TP home, but they've got the damage. Templar Assassin falls, and it will be MVP Hot 6 that gets a 1-0 after both teams rotate all 5.
Yeah, that was everyone.
That was five-man mid on both sides of the coin. So Hot 6 coming out again.
Yeah, I really like the way that Forev's been playing so far this game. I mean, the plan from the word go was, okay, we've got Precision Aura on this Weaver, and let's just have him put on a ridiculous amount of pressure, and that's all Forev's done. You can see it in his build as well. He's just buying little items so that he can run around, sustain in these fights, and keep things going. We used to see Earn a lot on this kind of a Weaver build, but I think the supports are doing well enough that it'll probably be one of them who picks it up. They definitely want one, especially against the TA now.
A lot of pressure coming onto this Tier 1 tower mid. March cruising on in. Fisher helps set it up. Heen will be the target of choice, so they switch onto MP. LSA connects onto March Laguna, but the tanky cow stays alive. Now the swarm comes flying through, gives some vision for the Radiant side. Grave will keep March alive, but again, QO gets separated from the team a bit too far forward. Without a refraction, he'll fall. Beautiful fissure comes out from Nuts, but the follow-up will be here. A lot of sustainability from that Witch Doctor. Earthshaker's already died. March gets the second bash onto Ferev. He dies to the tower. That makes it a 1-for-3 overall, and could even be more. Febby in some trouble, but Jerax does not have the mana to throw out the LSA and try to find the kill. Febby baiting him here under the tower with all the creeps, hoping for a lot of damage on that Shadow Wave. Won't find it, and MP will get the kill on the tower.
And Templar Assassin losing out a lot there. Dazzle, once again, the big winner for MVP Phoenix, but I don't feel like farm on him is really going to turn things around too much.
No.
Jerax is huge, and the net worth is actually looking really, really scary for MVP Phoenix.
That's the support Lina, mind you, who's now out farming the safe lane farmer who is the Queen of Pain.
Well, he's 4-0-5, especially with that triple kill.
So that'll do it.
We know exactly why Jerax is where that he is, but have to commend him on some fantastic play on the Lina thus far. And we haven't even really pointed out, but there's very little setup for the Light Strike array either. There's kind of a paralyzing cast, which can be somewhat unreliable in a lot of situations, but he's just been straight dropping stuns on people's heads this entire game long.
Yep.
Charge coming bottom lane.
They really want Sumpy. He will blink back into the tower. Doesn't disjoint the stun, but can at least pull March deep into enemy territory and see how quickly he is to cancel the charge, or how quick he is, rather, to cancel the charge and head back to safety. Heen rotating through a bump right into QO, but there is some support for the Radiant nearby. He'll just try to TP out after throwing the cask. Will connect onto QO. He'll live. Now the rest of the team will get here. Charge in onto March. Will get canceled once more. Sunbee does have a Sonic Wave. May consider having a go, but there are 4 heroes of MVP Phoenix lingering around.
This is scary, though. This is the one situation where the Ember Spirit hasn't actually come down with them to help out, and he's one of their best early game fighting heroes, so I think Phoenix do need to be a little bit careful about taking fights without KP getting involved. But KP, not a whole lot of farm. I think just a casual bracer in his inventory right now, and not a whole lot of survivability, and Drow just picking up more stats, more for the team. Mask of Madness in the inventory, and it's 37 extra damage for the Weaver. He's only got 1 point in the Geminate attack as well, so this Weaver is going to get so scary once he picks up some more levels.
I think he's going straight Desolator here with that first Mithril Hammer. They'll get the last Tier 1 tower. Again, MP gets the last hit on that one. Yep. Feeling pretty good. Rushing Desolator on Weaver is very potent on this patch. The item was buffed, and now you can get it at this great timing. You look at the Dire side, and none of them really have high armor right now, and he will do an extreme amount of damage.
Yeah, March is charging in here. The Earthshaker is over the tree line, but no one else nearby to do anything. I think just maintaining vision on the Weaver as best he can. Earthshaker having a really tough time this game. And I don't know how they're going to be able to catch him up as Hot6 just keep on marching forward and knocking down buildings.
Yep. Oh, solo kill on the Earthshaker from Forev in the mid lane. March will charge through, but same story, different chapter. Can't really do much. A TP rotation from KP, but Forev making so much space for his team on just this solo Weaver. They don't really have any tools to deal with him effectively. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, they're continuing to push into this tier 2 tower. QO nearby will get hit by a paralyzing cask. No bounces, but will help repel him as this tower taking a lot of damage.
I feel like this series has been the story of crucial last picks from both sides. In Game 1, it was the Slark for QO that Hot6 didn't really have any answers to. In Game 2, somewhat it was the early Broodmother, but I think the Phantom Assassin pick was also perfect for Hot6. And here, this Weaver is completely unanswered by the Phoenix side, but fight breaking out.
Here we go, charge into the backline onto MP, but a beautiful gust to stop it. Death Ward doing some good damage here. Heen in a great position. This Dire team is just getting cleaned up. KP, Nuts will be the one to grab the shallow grave, but to no avail. Fast 4 for Nil, Febby on the run, and they'll be happy to dive this tier 3 tower. Forev wants it. He is hungry. And how far is he going to go here? All right, past the tier 4s. Febby getting close to the well, and it's full 5-man wipe. That's a 5 for Nil. Desolator comes out, and this could end up being a quick game number 3 here, Base Kip, as Hot6 have so much momentum.
5-0 them, take the Desolator from the enemy well. You know, just Forev getting completely out of control here. Nuts is going to come wandering in, but all he can really do is hide over in the fog. And Phoenix, they can't wait. If they're going to find any kills, it has to be soon. They do cancel the TP. Time-lapse not going to come out, and Forev actually just going to fall here.
He gets the double bash, and MP as well. So they will throw away a couple of unnecessary deaths. They could have backed up a little bit further. They get a pretty big gain out of it, but all things considered, it's going to take a lot more than that. You look at the net worth chart there on the left side, and it is MVP Hot6 all over the top. And even the Witch Doctor is kind of in the middle of the pack, still looking good. We're 15 minutes in. That is a massive lead, up about 10K.
And Phoenix, after those 2 kills, they're going to try and head in to take Roshan here.
This is risky business, but I think at this point, you've got to take some risks if you want to have a chance at winning this game. They will rotate over.
Oh, the Sonic Wave, is it up just yet? No, still 40 seconds. Okay. But they've still got plenty of nuke damage to throw in here.
They're committed. They've got to hop in sooner rather than later. There is an Echo Slam on the side of Phoenix. They will hand over the Roche. Templar Assassin gets the Aegis. Hot6 now maybe forced into a fight as Jerax gets stunned. Death Ward on the backside doing good damage to QO. The Cask buying Jerax a little bit of time, but will still go down in the end. It's the end of his unstoppable streak, which will get credited to the Spirit Breaker. Now Phoenix on the back foot will make it to the high ground. Hot6 will not pursue.
Forev actually respawned and then time-lapsed back to where he died on bottom lane so that he could run in from the north side of the fight. It was a little bit of an interesting play. I don't think it got in there probably a tiny bit faster, though it did split the fight up somewhat from Hot6. But they only end up losing the Lina. She did have a pretty ridiculous streak going before that, so that's quite a bit of gold actually going the way of Phoenix.
Yeah, the Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, and they take a few gambles, but they're starting to pay off here. It's what they need to stay in this game, honestly. We saw just before how far behind they are.
Surprise, surprise. Handamitis on the Phoenix offlaner will be on the Spirit Breaker. We've seen March do this 3 out of 3 times now in this series, as we talked about. A little more synergistic on the Spirit Breaker. More attack speed means potentially more bashes. So a recovery mechanic that is much needed. He just did end up on the TA, and she did walk away with it.
Yeah, did manage to hold on to it. The Death Ward almost popped it there, but was just able to get away with the phase boots. KP on mid lane taking some damage.
Very far forward, has a fire remnant to jump to, and he will be able to make it back. Dagger chases him down, though.
Phoenix at least in a position to threaten a building here as Hot6 just group up once again.
And with the Desolator,
keep the 5-man going.
It's just so easy.
They just shred towers so quickly.
Yeah. No easy way to stop this one. They'll just let it fall. MP once more getting the kill on the tower. He's gotten so much gold just from tower kills alone. Feels like he's gotten the last hit on nearly every single tower they've taken out. Support Lina with a 17-minute Yule Scepter. Pretty good timing there as QO tries to split push in the top lane. They'd be able to claim that tower. But Hot6, they look like they want to try high ground. Even with the Aegis on TA, they're feeling confident. This time they will have the Sonic Wave available, though.
And this tier 3, only a couple of auto attacks from death, so already been brought down and should be able to take up residence here on the high ground. Need to be a little bit careful though. Q is running in.
MP getting low. He'll get to the back line. Charge comes through, hits him once. But now they isolate the Spirit Breaker. There's your Sonic Wave. It'll finish off the Dazzle straight away. They lose the Drow Ranger thanks to March. KP comes flying on in. QO went down but came back to life. This Death Ward from Heen doing huge damage, channeling it nearly full duration. All things considered, a pretty good fight for the Dire side. A buyback used now by the Earthshaker. Nuts will help break things up a little bit, but Forev will continue to press forward. With this tower down, his life gets a lot easier. Going for the sure damage on the ranged barracks with the Desolator, but will back out, respecting the power of the TA. And I think MVP Hot 6 should just try and reset and save this for another day. Heen gets isolated by the Fissure. He'll go down. Compliments of the Templar Assassin and a Sleight of Fist. Can they find more here? Yules out onto KP. Some heroes responding on the Dire side. Jerax getting in very aggressive. No way he'll survive this one. Once Nuts, but Shallow Grave not going to make that a reality.
I mean, Hotzig committed a lot there, but the tier 3 was pretty much already dead, so it's just some damage on the ranged barracks. End of the day, but
there was a buyback on the Earthshaker. That's the only other
He's
thing
never going to
really
have a blink.
Yeah.
At least not going to have a blink for a very long time.
Yeah.
This game, but biggest play that Phoenix managed to pull off there was focusing down the Drow right at the very start and disabling the bonus damage as much as they could so that the Weaver didn't just totally shred them. Kuro's just gone for a first item Desolator here, so decent for farm. If they can look towards some Oroshans later on, that's definitely going to speed things up there as well.
Oh, that's a full Aghanims on Queen of Pain now completed. That is huge. Hot 6 have been skirmishing quite a bit, and now they'll have that super short cooldown. And we've actually seen that be a problem with the Sonic Wave not being available. So, Desolator, first item on TA after the boots for QO. I don't know that that's the build he wanted to go for, but at this stage, just going for anything that can give them a little edge. And now he has that burst damage. If they catch the Queen of Pain or the Drow Ranger, might be able to find a quick pick.
Yeah, and Hot 6's lineup is very squishy in general, so the Desolator is going to make Kyo put in a lot of work, and I wonder if he's going to try and go BKB as the next item, or if he will just stick to sort of what I've seen his typical build be, which is the Blink Dagger immediately afterwards. I think there's definitely value in the Blink. If you get the charge going on the Drow, you're going to see her. You can go blinking in 1 or 2 shots to bring her down, and then that's a lot of damage removed from the Hot 6 side.
Similar with the Queen of Pain, even though she can blink back and pull the Spirit Breaker into kind of an awkward position at times, that gives you a gap closer to do some follow-up damage. So certainly agree on that one. BKB comes out for Forev's Weaver. Solid item pick up there. Gives him finally some survivability after going kind of glass cannon.
Yeah, interestingly, they don't have a whole lot in terms of sustaining through these team fights. There's a little bit of Voodoo Restoration, but everybody's so squishy that they don't have the health pool for it to really matter too much. And no mech or anything to speak of. They just have to try and stay on the front foot as much as they possibly can, because if they fall behind, that's where the Phoenix lockdown is going to give them trouble. Yeah, but they're just going to come bash their heads against this bottom lane once again. Double damage on the Queen of Pain, making pretty quick work of the ranged Drax. MP in a forward position.
Yeah, they force out the glyph straight away. Sonic Wave, a bit lackluster, hits the refraction on QO. Laguna comes out, as does the Echo Slam. Still everyone alive, but the Earthshaker will go down first. Again, Death Ward as well as Cask doing a lot of work here. Instant buyback from the Spirit Breaker. Right now it is a 5v4 on the field. The Earthshaker will not have buyback available. That'll be the end of this bottom lane of barracks. And now MVP Hot 6 should just look to make their exodus from the base, which indeed they will. They'll rotate straight towards the mid lane. They know the Earthshaker cooldown is still on buyback, and they may use this knowledge to their advantage.
Hot 6 disengaged from that fight really nicely. Forev, knowing that he had the BKB for safety, just stayed on the front lines and made sure that no one on Phoenix could actually leave the base. And they kited backwards with the Drow Ranger and made sure that she got out of harm's way. Forev is going to get dusted here.
He does have a time lapse though, so this should be no problem. Yep, we will continue to press through, but he can Shikuchi away, and no problemo here for the Weaver.
And the line is drawn from Jerax all the way down the mid lane. He's like, yep, this is the game plan, team. And I don't think there was any doubt about that whatsoever here for Hot 6.
There's the blink on the TA. Good call on that one. We'll see if it will be the difference maker as they siege the mid lane. Sunbee taking a little bit of damage as he blinks forward, but he's got the follow-up there. They want to try to catch one on the retreat. Febby trying to head towards the base. Fissure does connect on one. There's the blink forward from the TA, but now the setup from the Yules. LSA on point. That'll be the end of the refraction, and oh my gosh, the TA gets blown up by the Sonic Wave. Grave onto KP, barely keeps him alive. They'll just TP back to the well once he gets into fog. But now, TA lacking a buyback. This should be a pretty easy siege for MVP Hot 6.
And just look at that tier 3 tower drop. It's no problem whatsoever. KP doing his best to spam a little bit and slow things down, but Jerax with these Yules into the stuns is just setting up everything for his team right now.
Buyback from the Ember Spirit. March goes charging in, but gets silenced straight away. Death Ward for good measure will finish him off. Things looking very grim for MVP Phoenix as Hot 6 continue to dominate their way through the Dire base. Mid lane of Barracks down. 2 stuck in the grave on the Dire side. Febby will grave himself. That keeps him alive. They want to go for the top lane of Barracks, but hey, there's a tower still standing. So they'll go for the tier 2, and I reckon they'll just continue sieging. Seems like there's little that Phoenix can do to stop this onslaught.
Yeah, no reason to go anywhere. They've still got some earn charges remaining on the Witch Doctor as well, and plenty of mana, so they can top their heroes off and keep on going. I don't know what Phoenix can do, what kind of initiation that they can look for. They might be able to try and smoke around from the side, something like that, but they're already down 2 lanes of racks against this Drow Weaver strat, and so even if they start pulling things back, I think the Weaver can just split push them to death. Almost by himself from this point forward.
Yeah. Heen showing nuts that he's not the only one that plays a mean Witch Doctor here. 1-1 and 16 this go around. Feels like pretty much every Death Ward this game has done a pretty considerable amount of damage.
Yeah, and the hero turned out to be extremely valuable this game as well, especially against the Templar Assassin and the Ember Spirit. And the other thing is that it draws a bit of fire from some of the limited stuns that Phoenix have. Now, often when you talk about heroes like Crystal Maiden and Warlock and whatnot, where you've got these long channeling abilities, in some limited circumstances, it's worth it to even just throw out the spell just so that you draw the Fissure away from, say, the Weaver, for example, and then he just does whatever he wants in these fights. Though I don't think Fro's been having too many troubles running around in circles and
Solar Crest.
right-clicking Phoenix.
Yeah, Jerax will get a nice pickup there, and now a Crystallis onto Forev on the Weaver. Some more big damage items coming out here, base Kip.
I think with the Solar Crest, Forev can probably kill KP in one round, in one click, and then the Geminid attack Fox coming out as well.
Well, charge, another bash, now another strike, another double bash onto Sunbee, still not enough to finish him off. Searing Chains won't connect there, gets off the Sonic Wave, blinks back to safety. Echo Slam will secure the kill onto the Witch Doctor, so they did have to pay with their Dazzle. MP on the back foot. They'll continue to chase him down, and the Dro will fall, but takes the Ember Spirit with her. Jerax taking some huge burst damage here, alive on just a sliver of HP. But can they find him? Vision becoming a problem here as he's juking, he's jiving. Yule Scepter will stop the charge. Jerax creating a lot of space, somehow still alive, but finally that one last auto attack will bring him down. Now the Weaver comes in to clean house. QO with the meld. Looks like they are lacking detection at the moment. A surprisingly good fight from MVP Phoenix, but Creeps pushing into the base as their effigies are being destroyed. Yeah. Oh, they've already lost the tier 4 tower, it looks like. Oh, never mind. That was,
no, it's still
nope,
there.
It's still there. Yeah, my bad. All right.
Well, trading some hits, seems to be somewhat careful, but they found QO.
And QO is donezo.
Yeah.
Sentry
just on the
down.
edge of that sentry ward there.
Yeah, unlucky, but Roche is up, and MVP Hot 6 should be able to take it here. Drow as well as Lina coming up in just a couple of seconds. Buyback from QO. They are running out of resources here, but MVP Phoenix realizing that an Aegis will make this almost impossible in terms of making a comeback, and they will certainly contest the big boy.
Yeah, the Dire don't actually have any vision outside of a trap in the pit, but they're just going to go in and try and take this anyway. This looks like the same play as in the previous game where they're like, okay, look,
we need to take a risk.
If we can't take the Roshan, then we've probably already lost the game. So Kyo's going to keep on working on it.
Oh, silence onto Febby. He won't be able to get off the shallow grave. Now Dazzle's dead without a buyback. This could be bad news bears for the Dire side. BKB's popped a plenty. March with his online. Not going to be enough to save QO, though. The Sonic Wave doing huge damage. GG is called as MVP Phoenix get wiped up in the Roche pit. It will be MVP Hot 6 that secure themselves a slot in the grand finals and that trip to Seattle.
I love that little bit at the end. We'll get you tomorrow. Both teams still in pretty good spirits after that series, but how can they not be, right? I'm sure they're pretty good friends and just happy that they're here in the finals. They're among the final 4 teams.
But the upper bracket, so no one's eliminated yet. Phoenix will have to fight their way through the lower bracket, but they still have a chance, and that's what's really important here. But we'll welcome our panel back to talk about this series, Purge and Shiver. Action-packed. Game 3, though, probably the most one-sided of them all.
Very much so. And very short as well. And I think when Jarek's got the triple kill early on, like minute 3.5 or so, I think around that time we already knew, like, okay, this is going pretty good for Hot 6.
Yeah, that was really mechanically sound how he did that. Normally, if you get in that position, you see the one guy that's graved, and you do everything to run after him to make sure you get the last hit. But he kept auto-attacking. They focused on the second guy instead, and then he had good positioning to get the triple Dragon Slave. And the reason this was so important is if you looked at how the team fights developed in the late game, it was all about the Yules. The Yules did everything. Every time. Like and that's one way that we could criticize March. He got Midas on Spiritbreaker. That guy needed a BKB as fast as possible, because whenever either TA went in or Spiritbreaker went in, it always led into a Yule Scepter, into a stun combo, and bursting that hero down. They had enough burst damage where, because they didn't have BKBs, the fights were just completely won by one support doing really well early game. It was so important.
Yeah, and in terms of MVP, I think Farev is the obvious choice in terms of KDA. Anyone else standing
Jarex.
No,
Jarex.
I'm putting up Jarex.
You're all on the Jarex side train? Okay.
Yep.
I mean, the triple stun to start off the game when they contested the rune to find those 2 kills, that little sequence that we saw down bottom lane where he picked up the triple kill, and then every single fight, like Purge said, it was just the Jarex show with the Yules into the chain stun. Yeah. QO came blinking in looking for those kills on the Drow, but every single time he got stopped.
Yeah. And I liked what you said earlier, Cameron, about how this series felt like the match of the 5th pick, and every single game there was some sort of a 5th pick that was such a key part of the winning strategy, and in that game the Weaver just took over.
Yeah. The only really squishy part on their lineup was the Drow, and the one push that they did fill on the bot lane, that was Drow dying immediately, and that was when we talked about in the draft, it was about the high ground strat with somebody that's tanky. Drow wasn't really like that, at least not until you have BKB, and they didn't have BKB for a while, and the issue was that if she dies, not only is that you're pushing core, but that's also damage bonus for your whole team. And at that point, Weaver's having trouble getting kills. So by having the Yules and them not having BKBs, it just stopped everything. Frev obviously played amazing. And I think out of the core position, he played the best. But Jarex set that up basically. And once he realized, oh, I can't let Drow die, and they started defending her perfectly, then it just became impossible for MVP to win that game. And then they just did whatever they could to try to get fights, and it went worse and worse and worse. And the gold advantage was too much, and then they couldn't beat him. So that was just perfect. I think they played great.
I think QO on the Templar Assassin still did a pretty decent job. I kind of think maybe picking up the Ember was a bit too greedy, came online a bit too late, and kind of couldn't contribute by the time he was needed. And that kind of put them on for fail.
It's not really a classic aggro tri-lane hero, and they kind of backfired.
Weren't they defensive, though? They got aggro tri-laned.
They started off with the
They were dodging. So So they already started off on the bottom lane.
The double kill at the start was obviously the worst part. It just gives Weaver a fast Basilius. He's got tons of mana. He can get boots. He can get whatever he wants. And that was just so dangerous to deal with. Like, it's already a questionable hero to pick there because Weaver does do so much physical. And I knew he was going to rush Desolator because every time you see a Desolator hit an Ember Spirit has really low agility gain, so his armor's low despite being an agility hero. He just gets shredded, and that's basically what happened. If Weaver ever got ahead that game, Ember was going to be kind of worthless. Obviously, Grave and like his ultimate would make him very survivable, but like he just got killed so much. Once he got behind, it was just really tough. So it was a very greedy pick. I think it wasn't the right pick, honestly. They surely could have thought of something. Maybe.
Yeah, it was difficult, but definitely not an Ember Spirit game. You get silenced by the Drow. There's tons of physical damage, which he doesn't deal with well at all. Even the Weaver, like you were saying, by himself copes with Ember pretty well. So I don't know. I feel like I want to compliment Hot 6 in general for their drafting in both Game 2 and Game 3. They really exploited the fact that Phoenix just kept hammering the Huskar, Undying, and the Bloodseeker as bans. Yep. And both Game 2 and Game 3, it felt like they had a cohesive strategy that they were aiming for, but they got all of the heroes every single time as well. I mean, they picked up the Drow Weaver, and that was separated by all 5 picks. I think it was first pick Drow and final pick Weaver. And in the other game, they picked up the Broodmother early. They had the confidence in it, and it worked out perfectly. So
absolutely,
big props to them for their drafting. And they're going to Seattle.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
One way or the other. Tomorrow is the grand finals. It will be decided if MVP Phoenix, or rather, sorry, if MVP Hot 6 will be making it to Seattle as an invited team or as a wildcard team. We'll be seeing that tomorrow. But first, today, we still have an elimination match to go. It is going to be TNC taking on Rave, as Rave played a tiebreaker earlier this morning. That's going to be a really, really tough matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fighting, but I'm pretty scared for Rave, as we talked about earlier this morning. They're going up against a team that there's not a lot of stats about them. We don't really know a lot about them. They come up with the weird picks that you can't really prepare for. But it's going to be a tough one.
Should be a good series.
In the same vein, those teams usually crash and burn a little harder. They have less consistency, I feel, because they're
longer series.
Yeah, like we saw it happen with Yellow Submarine, for example. They played against Navi in the EU qualifier, and game one, they played a really good tournament as a whole. But some of those games, when they get behind, they're like, let's do weird, cheesy stuff, and they don't stick to consistency. So it's kind of boom or bust, I feel. So at least Rave's going to have that going for them, considering that they've been a team for over a year and a half with at least three of their core players. So, but it is definitely a hard road for Rave. They've got to win that set, then they have to beat Phoenix, and then they get to the finals. They get their seat, and then they've got to beat Hot 6, which they did lose to Phoenix 1-0 when the tiebreaker came through. So maybe they can beat Hot 6. Who knows?
Yeah, that was also a pretty heated game that was pretty back and forth. It almost seemed like Rave was going to win it at one point.
It could have gone either way, honestly.
Yeah.
So very tough road for them, considering they got put down there.
Yeah,
certainly.
Well, that's going to come our way in about 15 to 20 minutes, to give or take. So sit tight. We're going to be back with TNC versus Ray for our elimination match of the TI5 qualifiers for Southeast Asia.
Tornado into a Fissure, into a Light Strike Array. There's absolutely no chance.
Here we go. Pressure on that Tier 1 tower down bottom. They'll jump onto March. Shallow Grave comes out from Febby. That'll buy him some time, but now the Gust keeps him silenced, and they'll get the kill there. Cask bouncing around, slowing down Hot 6, so they've already taken out the tower. Lesh rotates. Split Earth will connect. Forev will be the first to fall on the Radiant side. Nuts just barely lives, and now the TPs from MVP Hot 6. Pardon me, EMP won't connect with much, but nor will the Pounce. More heroes rotating in as they try to finish it off the Invoker, but Cogs from the Clockwork push back QO. That sets up the kill there. March and Febby on the run. It seems Hot 6 have the reinforcement advantage here, but another beautiful Split Earth from KP. He's got the Pulse Nova on. He'll chase down the Invoker, finds the kill there. Now another charge in, but it's the Drow Ranger that joins the party. Gust pushes him back, and again, it's the dire side on the back foot, but Nuts is here. Cask bouncing around like crazy. Another brilliant Split Earth, even though Hadouken flies through. Nuts barely gets graved in time. They get the kill on the Clockwork. Another Gust pushes back KP. A few more auto attacks. They might find it, and they do. Now a Fissure on 2, blocks out Febby, but the Cask! It's bouncing around, it'll keep Febby alive. Witch Doctor gets the kill on Lena.
The MVP backline, because if they don't, QO is just never going to die.
Smoke on smoke action. BKB pops straight away by Forev as QO goes right into the fray. Shadow Dance turned on as he tries to focus down Heen. Glimmer Cape will keep him alive. The rest of MVP Phoenix kind of on the back foot here, but the Death Ward from Nuts doing a lot of damage. The Cask bouncing around as well. All the players still alive for now, but Forev getting low. The evasion keeping him up, but in the end he will fall. Decent Echo Slam from Jerax, but I don't think it's enough. Lesh now pulsing all over this fight. And it's MP trying to do what he can to turn it around. Dazzle's here, throws out the Poison Touch. QO reinitiating Yules to set up onto MP, right into the Split Earth. He'll go down. The Earthshaker barely TPs out. Goes straight in onto the Clockwork, takes some below. BKB Lesh charges into the front lines as well. MP BKB, but the Pulse Nova doing a lot of damage here. Lesh will end up falling, but no! Shallow Grave comes out, keeps him alive. Clockwork, the first casualty of this fight. He won't have a buyback. The Echo Slam from Jerax sets up a kill on Lesh as well as the Lena. A double kill there, but Lesh coming right back to life as Jerax ends up going down himself. They kill the Space Cow, but they don't have anything left. It's only the Drow Ranger. She's getting dove.
Give him the Rampage.
Oh, buyback now from the Earthshaker. Gust comes out, and bada boom, bada bing. Evasions are there, but it's a Rampage for QO. Dieback now for the Earthshaker. Also a buyback for the Drow Ranger. No doubt said, even if he gets an initiation on one, if the supports are near each other, the other can always bail one out. You've got a defensive disruption or a Shallow Grave, and now KP taking a lot of damage. EMP Tornado to try and break things up, and it might get the kill on the Brood. No, Shallow Grave comes out, but not even necessary. The Laguna not enough for a kill. March will get put up in the Yule Split Earth, waiting for him as he comes back down to planet Earth. Hook shot right onto MP, and that will secure his death for sure. Drow Ranger as well as the Clockwork buyback just about instantly. Looks like
that's about it. Phoenix just trying to come outside of the base here and find some valuable kills if they can. They're actually just marching into the Roshan pit. I don't know if that's the play. MP going to come jumping in with his BKB active. QO is almost dead already.
Yep, QO goes down straight away. The Death Ward doing some okay damage, but it just isn't enough. KP the next to go down. Now March squaring off against MP. GG is called already.
He's got all of the kills.
Oh, bottom lane, KP takes an LSA to the face. Dragon Slade to follow up. Sunby blinks forward, and the scream not enough for the damage, or not enough for the kill, rather. Shallow Grave buys him some time. Sunby in some trouble, wants to get Febby, can't quite get it, but now Lena for the cleanup. Jerax with a triple kill. Oh my good gracious.
It was also perfect for Hot 6, and here this Weaver is completely unanswered by the Phoenix side, but fight breaking out.
Here we go, charge into the backline onto MP, but a beautiful gust to stop it. Death Ward doing some good damage here. Heen in a great position. This Dire team is just getting cleaned up. KP, or probably Nuts will be the one to grab the Shallow Grave, but to no avail. Fast 4-0, Febby on the run, and they'll be happy to dive this tier 3 tower. Forev wants it. He is hungry. And how far is he going to go here? All right, past the tier 4. Febby getting close to the well. And it's full 5-man wipe. That's a 5-0. Desolator comes out, and this could end up being a
this tier 3, only a couple of auto attacks from Deaths already being brought down, and should be able to take up residence here on the high ground. Needs to be a little bit careful, though. Q is running in.
MP getting low. He'll get to the back line. Charge comes through, hits him once. But now they isolate the Spirit Breaker. There's your Sonic Wave. It'll finish off the Dazzle straight away. They lose the Drow Ranger thanks to March. KP comes flying on in. QO went down but came back to life. This Death Ward from Heen doing huge damage, channeling it nearly full duration. All things considered, a pretty good fight for the Dire side. A buyback used now by the Earthshaker. Nuts will help break things up a little bit. But Forev will continue to press forward with this tower down.